Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to talk about a word we use all the time, resource. Seems pretty straightforward, right? Water, oil, forests. But what if I told you that our whole idea of what a resource is might be totally and even dangerously incomplete? All right, let's get into it.
For the longest time, this is what pretty much everyone thought. That the Earth is like this giant, bottomless treasure chest, and everything inside is a free gift just waiting for us to take it. But that one simple idea, well, it turns out it's the very reason we're facing some of the biggest problems on the planet today. It's a question that really forces us to rethink everything.
Yeah, for ages, the definition was super simple. If you can use it to meet a need, boom, it's a resource. Air helps us breathe, water quenches our thirst. They're resources. Easy. But that definition is missing three absolutely critical ingredients that turn some random thing in the environment into an actual usable resource.
So here's the real deal, the full definition. A resource isn't just anything that helps us out. Nope. It's anything that can satisfy our needs provided it passes three very specific tests. You can think of these as the gatekeepers that decide if a substance is just sitting there or if it's something we can actually use to build our world.
And here they are. First up, is it technologically accessible? In other words, do we actually have the tools and the know-how to get to it? Second, is it economically feasible? I mean, does it even make financial sense to go after it? And third, and this one's kind of fascinating, is it culturally acceptable? As a society, do we even agree that this thing is valuable in the first place?
So let's really unpack that, because this is super important. Think about it like this. There are probably tons of valuable minerals locked inside some asteroid zipping past Mars. They exist, but can we get to them yet? Not really. So for us right now, they aren't a resource, they're just a cool piece of space rock. That's technological accessibility. Now, let's say we could get there, but the mission costs $1 billion to bring back, $1,000 worth of material. Is that a resource? No way. That's a terrible investment. That's economic feasibility. And finally, think about gold. Why do we love it so much? It's just a shiny metal, right? Well, it's valuable because for thousands of years, we've all agreed that it is. It's culturally acceptable as a symbol of wealth. A random pebble in your backyard isn't, because we haven't given it that value. All three of those boxes have to be ticked.
Okay, so now that we've got that straight, you can probably see where this is going. What happens when we completely ignore all that complexity? What happens when we fall back on that old, lazy idea that everything is just a free gift from nature, up for grabs? This slide just hits you with the hard truth, right? That one simple belief, that everything's a freebie. It basically gave humanity a permission slip to just go wild, to use things indiscriminately, without a single thought for tomorrow, or for the consequences, or for anyone else. This one idea is really the root of so many of our current struggles.
And that free gift mentality, it directly unleashed a trifecta of disasters. First, you get the depletion of resources just to satisfy the greed of a few people. Second, you get this massive concentration of wealth. All those resources end up in just a few hands, which divides society. And third, well, this is the big one, we've pushed our entire planet into crisis mode. We're talking global warming, pollution, land degradation, the whole scary list.
And this slide just lays it out, plain and simple. That accumulation of resources literally sliced our world in two. On one side, you have the haves, a small wealthy group with access to just about everything. And on the other hand, you've got the have-nots, the huge majority of people who lack that access. This creates this massive, dangerous gap between the rich and the poor. And this isn't just about money. This is about global stability and peace.
The message here is, well, it's really stark. This isn't some far-off problem for our grandkids to worry about. The source material is crystal clear. If we keep going down this road, where a few individuals and countries just keep consuming everything, the very future of our planet is at risk. We've built a system that's just not sustainable, and we're speeding towards the edge of a cliff.
But it's not all doom and gloom. Humanity started to wake up. Faced with all these growing crises, a completely new way of thinking started to bubble up. This next part is all about that pivot, that crucial moment the world started to shift from just taking whatever it wanted towards a new philosophy of sustainability.
And this is the big idea that changed the whole conversation. Sustainable development. It's such a brilliant concept, and it's got two really simple but incredibly powerful parts. Part 1. We absolutely have to meet the needs of everyone alive today. People need to live, they need to grow, they need to thrive. That's a given. But, and here's the revolutionary part, we have to do it in a way that doesn't trash the planet for our kids and their kids.
It's all about finding that perfect balance between now and later.
Now, an idea this big didn't just pop up overnight. It was more like a slow burn. You can see it starting way back in 1968, with the Club of Rome pushing for resource conservation. But the real game changer was in 1987, when the Brundtland Commission report officially put sustainable development on the world map. And all of that led up to the massive 1992 Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, where the world finally got in a room together to tackle these problems head-on.
And when I say massive, I mean it. This was not some minor conference. We're talking about more than 100 heads of state, the leaders of over 100 countries all gathered in Rio. Just that number alone tells you how serious things had gotten. This was the moment that protecting the planet officially became a top-tier global priority.
So what came out of that summit was this incredible blueprint for the future called Agenda 21. Think of it as a global to-do list for the 21st century. And the goals were huge. Achieve sustainable development for everyone, actively fight back against environmental damage, tackle poverty and disease, and do it all by working together. It was this amazing realization that all these problems are connected. You can't save the forests if people are struggling to survive.
All right, so the world has a goal, sustainability. Great. But, a goal is one thing. A plan is something else entirely. So how do we actually make this happen in the real world? That's what we're getting into next, the strategy.
The answer, in a word, is planning, specifically resource planning. And this is so critical because, let's be real, resources are not spread out evenly, not at all. You've got regions that are loaded with minerals but have almost no water. Other places have incredible solar potential but zero fossil fuels. Without a really smart, deliberate plan, you just end up with chaos and waste.
So how does a country actually do this? Well, it boils down to 3 pretty logical steps. Step 1 is identification and inventory. You gotta know what you've got. You survey, you map, you measure everything. Step 2 is evolving a planning structure. Okay, now you need a system to actually develop those resources. The right tech, the right skills, the right institutions. And finally, step 3, matching with national plans. This whole resource plan can't just be its own little project. It has to plug into the country's bigger development goals.
Let's put that in even simpler terms. Step 1 is like doing a full inventory of your kitchen pantry. You need to know exactly what ingredients you have and how much you have of each. Step 2 is about figuring out the recipes and getting the right kitchen tools. How are you going to turn those ingredients into actual meals? And step 3, that's making sure that the meals you're planning fit your family's overall health goals for the year. It's about making sure every part is working together to move the whole country forward.
Okay, so we've talked about the big global plans and the national strategies. But now we need to get to the real heart of it. Because you can have the best plans in the world, but if the human mindset behind it all doesn't change, none of it matters. And this brings us to one of the most powerful, simple truths about conservation ever spoken.
And here it is. Decades before all the international summits and scientific reports, Mahatma Gandhi cut right to the chase with this: there is enough for everybody's need and not for anybody's greed. I mean, wow. That one sentence just says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the core conflict, our needs, which are finite, versus our greed, which can be limitless.
And Gandhi was really clear on this. He believed the root cause of all this depletion wasn't just a lack of planning. It was the toxic mix of greedy, selfish individuals and the exploitative way we use modern technology. He was against mass production, which he basically saw as a giant machine designed to chew up the planet for profit. Instead, he wanted to see production by the masses, empowering communities to produce what they need, which builds a much healthier, more respectful relationship with the world around them.
And that brings us right back to us, here and now, with the final, unavoidable question. We have the knowledge. We have the frameworks like sustainable development. We have the strategies for resource planning. But when you boil it all down, it comes to a choice. A choice that every single one of us, every company, and every country has to make, every single day. The future of our planet is literally in our hands. So, are we going to be guided by our collective need, or are we going to let our individual greed